I'm sitting here holding my daughter's engagement ring, the one she threw at me 3 hours ago, screaming that I ruined her life. The diamond catches the light from my kitchen window, and I can still hear her voice echoing through the house. How could you do this to me, Mom? How could you record him? But you don't know what happened at that dinner table last Sunday. You don't know what this man, my daughter's boyfriend of 2 years, did to humiliate her right in front of me. And you definitely don't know what he tried to do to me afterward when she went to the bathroom. Let me start from the beginning, because if you believe a mother's love is sacred, please leave a like. What I'm about to tell you will make your blood boil. It was supposed to be a celebration dinner. My daughter had been dropping hints for months about wanting to take the next step, and I could see the hope in her eyes every time she looked at him. She'd made reservations at this fancy restaurant downtown, the kind where they fold your napkin when you go to the restroom and the waiters speak in hushed tones. I should have seen the red flags earlier. The way he always corrected her when she spoke. How he'd roll his eyes when she got excited at the art gallery. But mothers, we want to believe our children choose well. We want to trust their judgment. That night, my daughter wore the blue dress I bought her for her birthday. She'd spent 2 hours getting ready, and she looked absolutely radiant. Her eyes were sparkling with anticipation as we sat down at the table. She kept glancing at him, waiting for something. The conversation started normally enough. Work, weekend plans, the usual small talk. But then my daughter mentioned wanting to redecorate their apartment, and his entire demeanor changed. Our apartment? He said, loud enough for the couple at the next table to turn and look. Last I checked, my name is the only one on the lease. I watched my daughter's face fall. She laughed nervously, trying to play it off. Well, I meant, you know, since I practically live there. Practically isn't legally, he interrupted, cutting his steak with more force than necessary. And speaking of legal matters, I think we need to discuss some boundaries. My stomach dropped. This wasn't going where any of us thought it would. He proceeded to list, and I'm not exaggerating, a literal list of things my daughter needed to improve about herself. Her cooking was too experimental. She left hair in the shower drain. She talked too much during movies. She spent too much money on art supplies for her hobby. Hobby, he called it. My daughter has a degree in fine arts and sells her paintings at local galleries. But to him, it was just a hobby. I watched my beautiful, confident daughter shrink smaller and smaller in her chair. Her hands were trembling as she reached for her water glass. The hope in her eyes was dying right in front of me, and this man I'd welcomed into our family, was killing it systematically. Maybe we should order dessert, I suggested, desperate to change the subject. He turned to me then, and I'll never forget the look on his face. Cold, calculating. Actually, I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can talk some sense into your daughter. She has these unrealistic expectations about our relationship. Unrealistic expectations, like being treated with basic respect. She thinks just because we've been together for 2 years, she's entitled to make decisions about our future, he continued. But the truth is, I'm not sure she's mature enough for the kind of commitment I'm looking for. My daughter's fork clattered to her plate. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we should take a break. Give you time to work on yourself. Figure out what you really want in life. The restaurant seemed to go silent around us. My daughter's breathing became shallow, and I could see tears forming in her eyes. This man had orchestrated this entire evening, invited me to witness her humiliation, and he was enjoying every second of it. Excuse me, my daughter whispered, standing up so quickly her chair nearly fell over. I need to, I'll be right back. She practically ran toward the restrooms, leaving me alone with him. That's when his mask completely slipped. He leaned back in his chair, swirling his wine glass like he'd just completed some masterful performance. She'll be fine, he said casually. She's dramatic, but she'll get over it. How could you do that to her? I whispered, my voice shaking with rage. He smiled, actually smiled. Look, she's a sweet girl, but let's be honest, she's not exactly wife material. Too needy, too emotional, but you. His eyes traveled up and down my body in a way that made my skin crawl. You raised her, so you know how to handle disappointment. I felt sick. What is that supposed to mean? He reached across the table and touched my hand. It means you're a mature woman who understands that sometimes things don't work out the way we plan. And maybe that creates opportunities for something better. I yanked my hand away. Are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that your daughter and I are over, but that doesn't mean you and I can't explore what we might have in common. His voice dropped lower. You're attractive for your age, experienced. And unlike your daughter, you probably know how to appreciate a man who knows what he wants. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. This man had just destroyed my daughter's heart, and now he was trying to seduce me at the same table. The audacity was breathtaking. But here's what he didn't know, what neither of them knew. I'd been recording everything on my phone since the moment he started his cruel speech. Every word, every disgusting suggestion. Because a mother's instinct told me something was very, very wrong with this man. And now I had proof. The question was, what was I going to do with it? I never thought I'd be sitting here, holding my daughter's engagement ring while she won't even look at me. But I need to tell someone what really happened. Because maybe I was wrong to record everything, but I wasn't wrong about him. For 8 months, I watched my daughter disappear, not physically. But the girl I raised, the one who used to laugh so loud the neighbors would smile through the walls, she just faded. I raised her alone after her father passed when she was 12. Worked double shifts at the diner, my feet swelling in those white shoes until I could barely walk home. My hands, they're still rough from all those years of scrubbing tables, sewing patches on her school clothes, stretching every dollar until it screamed. I remember sewing her prom dress by hand. Midnight oil burning, my fingers pricked and bleeding, but I was determined she'd have something beautiful. She cried when she saw it, said it was better than anything in the store windows. That's the daughter I knew, confident, radiant, mine. When she brought him home 8 months ago, something twisted in my stomach. The way his eyes lingered on me when she went to get drinks. The way he'd touch her shoulder when she spoke, not affectionately, but like he was, controlling her volume. He'd correct her grammar at dinner, laugh when she mispronounced words, suggest she might want to work on her cooking. But she glowed when he smiled at her. Actually glowed, so I bit my tongue raw and prayed I was imagining things I wasn't. Last Tuesday, they came for dinner. I'd spent my day off cooking her favorite meal. Pot roast with those little potatoes she used to beg for as a child. The smell of rosemary and garlic filled the house, and for a moment, when she walked in, I saw my real daughter again. She hugged me tight, whispered, "Smells like home, Mama." Then he started. "You know, sweetheart," he said, cutting into the meat I'd spent hours preparing. "Maybe your mother could teach you how to season properly. This is actually edible." She laughed. My daughter laughed at him, insulting my cooking, but I saw her hands shake as she reached for her water glass. "And that dress," he continued, looking at the blue sundress she'd worn special for dinner. "It's a bit young for you, don't you think? You're not in college anymore." I watched her fold in on herself, watched her apologize for a dress that made her look beautiful. I excused myself to get dessert, but really, I needed to breathe, to keep from throwing him out of my house. That's when I heard her in the kitchen behind me, voice small and broken. "I'm sorry about dinner, and the dress, I just thought." "It's fine," he said, but his tone suggested it wasn't. "You're learning." Learning, like she was a child he was training. I served dessert with shaking hands. Apple pie, made from scratch because I remembered him mentioning he liked it. I was still trying, still hoping I was wrong about him. After dinner, she went to use the bathroom. He helped me clear the dishes, and that's when everything changed. "You know," he said, standing too close while I rinsed plates, "she really got her looks from you, even at your age. You're still quite attractive." My hands went still in the soapy water. "I mean, she's sweet and all, but she's so inexperienced, naive. You, on the other hand." His fingers brushed my shoulder. "You understand how the world really works." I turned around, backed against the sink, and he stepped closer. "She doesn't have to know," he whispered. "What we do is between adults. She's lucky to have such a generous mother." I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. This man who was supposed to love my daughter was propositioning me in my own kitchen while she was 20 feet away. But my phone was in my pocket. And some instinct I'd developed from years of protecting her, made me start recording. "I think you should step back," I said quietly. "Come on," he laughed, reaching for my waist. "Don't pretend you haven't noticed how I look at you. The way you dress when I come over, you want this too." The way I dress, my voice was steadier now. I dress like a mother, having dinner with her daughter and her boyfriend. "Right," he said, his hand still on my waist. "But we both know you're more than just a mother. You're a woman with needs, and she's so vanilla, so boring, but you. I bet you know how to please a man." I heard footsteps in the hallway. She was coming back. "She loves you," I whispered, desperate for him to stop, to come to his senses. "She loves the idea of me," he said, "but you and I, we could have something real, something adult, think about it." When she walked back into the kitchen, he was helping me with dishes like nothing had happened. Smiling at her like he hadn't just tried to seduce her mother 30 seconds earlier. The rest of the evening was torture. watching her laugh at his jokes, lean into his touch, plan their future while I sat there with my phone burning in my pocket and his words echoing in my head. After they left, I sat at my kitchen table until dawn, staring at my phone. The recording was clear. Every disgusting word, every proposition, every betrayal of my daughter's trust. I called her the next morning, told her we needed to talk. She came over excited, practically bouncing, said she had news. She was going to say yes. He was planning to propose. I played the recording. I watched my daughter's face crumble. Watched 8 months of manipulation and gaslighting finally make sense to her. She threw the ring he'd already given her right at me, screaming that I'd ruined everything, that I'd recorded private conversations, that I was jealous and bitter and alone. Maybe she's right about some of it. Maybe I shouldn't have recorded him, but I wasn't wrong about who he really was. She hasn't spoken to me in 3 days. The ring is still sitting on my counter, catching light from the kitchen window. And I keep thinking, I gave up everything to protect her. My youth, my chances at love, my dreams. Everything went to making sure she had better. Maybe she'll forgive me someday. Maybe she'll understand that sometimes protecting someone you love means they hate you for a while. Or maybe I'll just be alone with this ring and the knowledge that I saved her from a man who would have destroyed her piece by piece. Either way, she deserved better than him. She's always deserved better than anything I could give her, but she sure as hell deserved better than him. I never thought I'd be the kind of mother who'd secretly record someone in my own kitchen. But there I was, phone hidden behind the sugar canister, watching my daughter's boyfriend reveal his true face. It started so small, so innocent. The first time he made a comment about her weight, we were at Sunday dinner. She'd made her grandmother's lasagna recipe, the one that took her 3 tries to get right. He took one bite and said, "This is really good, babe, maybe too good, you know how you get with comfort food." Then that laugh. That dismissive little chuckle that made everything sound like a joke. I watched her face fall, watched her push the food around her plate for the rest of the meal. "He's just looking out for me, Mom," she said later, helping me with dishes. "He wants me to stay healthy." But it wasn't about health. It was never about health. The comments got sharper, more frequent. When she'd tell a story at dinner, he'd interrupt halfway through. "Oh, let me tell it. You always get the details wrong." Then he'd retell her own experience, changing the parts that made her look good, emphasizing the parts that made her look foolish. I bit my tongue, swallowed my words. Because every time I tried to say something, she'd defend him. "You just don't understand his sense of humor. He's actually really supportive when we're alone. You're being too sensitive, Mom." Each excuse felt like a small betrayal. My own daughter choosing this man over her own mother's concern. Then came the promotion at work. She'd been working toward it for 2 years, staying late, taking on extra projects. When she finally got it, she was glowing, radiant. For the first time in months, I saw glimpses of my real daughter again, until he opened his mouth. "Congratulations, babe, though honestly, I think your boss probably just felt sorry for you. You know how it is with diversity hires these days." The light went out of her eyes instantly, like someone had flipped a switch. "I earned this," she whispered. "Of course you did," he said, that same dismissive tone. "I'm just saying, there are a lot of factors in these decisions. Don't let it go to your head." I excused myself to the bathroom and cried. Actually cried, sitting on the edge of my bathtub, watching my strong, brilliant daughter accept this poison disguised as love. But the real betrayal, the one that broke my heart completely, it happened 3 weeks later. They were over for dinner again. Pot roast this time, with apple pie cooling on the counter. She was wearing that blue sundress I'd bought her for her birthday, the one that used to make her smile when she caught herself in mirrors. He spent the entire meal criticizing her. Her hair looked greasy. She was talking too much. The way she held her fork was embarrassing. Each comment delivered with that same casual cruelty, that same fake laugh that made it all seem harmless. She barely spoke, barely ate, just sat there taking it, nodding along like she agreed with every word. After dinner, she went to use the bathroom. He followed me into the kitchen while I was cutting the pie. "You know," he said, leaning against the counter, "you raised a real doormat." I froze, knife halfway through the crust. "Excuse me. Your daughter, she's so pathetic, no backbone at all, it's actually getting boring." My hands started shaking. "She loves you." "Yeah, well," he shrugged. "Love's easy to manipulate when someone's desperate enough." That's when something shifted, some protective instinct I didn't even know I still had. "What are you saying?" He stepped closer, too close. I could smell his cologne, that expensive stuff he wore to mask something rotten underneath. "I'm saying maybe it's time I upgraded. Someone with more experience, more confidence. His eyes traveled down my body. Someone who knows what she wants. My stomach turned. You're engaged to my daughter. Engaged to a child, he said. But you're a real woman. I see how you look at me. I wanted to slap him, wanted to scream. Instead, I reached behind me, fingers finding my phone, pressing record. I don't look at you anyway, I said, keeping my voice steady. Come on. He moved even closer. She's upstairs crying again, probably. She does that a lot now. Cries over nothing. It's exhausting, honestly. But you wouldn't cry over some harmless teasing, would you? Harmless. She's too sensitive. Always has been, I bet. That's why she needs someone like me, someone to toughen her up. But sometimes, he reached out like he was going to touch my face. Sometimes, I wonder what it would be like with someone who already knows how the world works. I stepped back. Stop. Why? She doesn't have to know. She's so naive, she'd never figure it out. Besides, after what I've done to her self-esteem, she'd probably blame herself anyway. That's when he said it, the words that made everything clear. I've got her so twisted up, she'd apologize for me cheating on her. That's how broken I've made her. He was proud of it, proud of destroying my daughter piece by piece. I heard footsteps on the stairs. She was coming back. Think about it, he whispered, stepping away like nothing had happened. I could make you feel things she never could. She walked into the kitchen, eyes red from crying, and he immediately switched, became the concerned boyfriend again. There you are, babe. Everything okay? You look upset. I'm fine, she said automatically. You sure? Because you seem really emotional lately. Maybe you should see someone about that. And she nodded. Actually nodded like her completely reasonable reaction to his abuse was the problem. That night, after they left, I sat in my kitchen staring at my phone, at the recording that captured everything. His confession, his proposition, his casual admission of psychological torture. I thought about my daughter going home with this monster, sleeping next to him, planning a wedding with him. I thought about the woman she used to be, before him, strong, funny, fearless. I thought about the woman she was becoming, apologetic, diminished, afraid of her own shadow. And I realized the real betrayal wasn't what he'd done to her. It was what I'd let happen by staying silent. The engagement ring is sitting on my counter now. She threw it at me yesterday when I played her the recording. Called me a liar, a manipulator, a jealous old woman who couldn't stand to see her happy. She chose him. Even with proof of what he really was, she chose him. But at least now I know I tried. At least now I can live with myself. Even if she never speaks to me again. Have you ever been betrayed by family? Tell me in the comments. I never thought I'd be sitting here at 3 a.m, holding my mother's engagement ring between trembling fingers, knowing I failed the most important test of my life. The dinner was supposed to be perfect. My daughter had gotten another promotion at work, the third one in 2 years. I'd spent all afternoon making her favorite pot roast, the one with the little potatoes and carrots that she used to help me prepare when she was 7. I even made apple pie from scratch, using my grandmother's recipe. I set the table with my mother's china, the delicate blue pattern that only comes out for special occasions. Everything had to be perfect for my girl. She'd been working so hard, staying late at the office, missing our weekly coffee dates. But tonight was about celebrating her success. Our neighbor joined us. He'd been like family since moving in next door 5 years ago. Always checking on us, helping with yard work, bringing soup when either of us was sick. He was excited to hear about the promotion too. But he, her boyfriend, arrived already agitated, complaining about traffic, about having to drive across town, about how the parking was terrible. I tried to lighten the mood, pouring wine, asking about his day at the construction site. My daughter kept apologizing for everything, the temperature of the food, the music being too loud, even the color of the napkins. That should have been my first warning. I watched her shrink smaller and smaller as he criticized the seasoning on the roast, complained that the potatoes were too soft, said the wine was cheap. Our neighbor tried to change the subject, complimenting my daughter's new haircut, asking about her promotion. That's when he said it. Looking directly at my daughter with this cold smile I'd never seen before, he said, "You know, if you put half as much effort into your appearance as your mother does, maybe people would actually take you seriously at work instead of just feeling sorry for you." The silence was deafening. I felt the blood drain from my face. Our neighbor's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. But my daughter, God, my beautiful, brilliant daughter, her face just crumbled, like watching a flower wilt in fast motion. She mumbled something about checking on dessert and disappeared into the kitchen. I could hear her quiet sobs through the door, those heartbreaking little sounds she used to make as a child when other kids were mean to her at school. I sat there, automatically twisting my mother's ring around my finger, the same nervous habit I'd had since I was 16. Our neighbor was staring at his plate, clearly uncomfortable. He tried to make small talk, asking about the weather, anything to fill the horrible silence. But he, her boyfriend, he just kept eating like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just destroyed my child in front of witnesses. I excused myself and found her in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, tears streaming down her cheeks. She was wearing that blue sundress I'd bought her for her birthday, the one that brought out her eyes. Now those same eyes were red and swollen. "Mom, I'm fine," she whispered when she saw me. "Really, he's just stressed about work, he didn't mean it." But I knew better. I'd seen that look before in my own mirror 25 years ago. The look of someone making excuses for the inexcusable. "Sweetheart," I started, but she shook her head. "Please don't make this bigger than it is. I love him. He loves me. Sometimes people say things they don't mean." I wanted to grab her shoulders, shake her, make her see what I was seeing. Instead, I hugged her, feeling her body trembling against mine. When we returned to the dining room, our neighbor was helping clear plates. He gave me a look that said everything. He'd seen it too, recognized it for what it was. But her boyfriend was on his phone, scrolling through messages like we were invisible. "The pie smells amazing," our neighbor said gently, trying to salvage the evening. "Actually," her boyfriend said without looking up, "I should probably head out. Early day tomorrow. Besides, I'm watching my carbs." He stood up, kissed my daughter's forehead like nothing had happened, and left, just like that. No apology, no acknowledgement of what he'd done. He destroyed her confidence and walked away. Our neighbor stayed to help clean up, but the evening was ruined. My daughter kept apologizing, making excuses, saying he was under a lot of pressure at work. I watched her carefully pack away leftover pie for him to take home tomorrow. That night, after everyone was gone, I sat in my bedroom holding my mother's ring. It had been passed down through 3 generations of strong women. Women who survived wars, raised children alone, built lives from nothing. And I had failed them all. I had raised a daughter who was brilliant, kind, successful in her career. But I hadn't taught her to recognize cruelty dressed up as love. I hadn't shown her that she deserved better than someone who would humiliate her at her own celebration dinner. I twisted the ring around my finger until my skin was raw, thinking about all the signs I'd ignored. The way she'd stopped talking about her dreams. How she always checked her phone anxiously during our visits. The way she flinched slightly when he raised his voice, even in jest. I'd been so focused on not being an interfering mother that I'd failed to be a protective one. Sitting there at 3 in the morning, I realized I had nothing left. No words that would make her see. No actions that wouldn't push her further away. No way to undo the damage of letting this go on for so long. I had my successful career, my beautiful home, my mother's ring. But I was losing the only thing that truly mattered, my daughter, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. The worst part? Tomorrow she'd call to thank me for dinner, probably with another excuse ready for his behavior. And I'd have to pretend I believed her, because the alternative was losing her completely. I never thought I'd feel this helpless, this broken, this afraid for someone I love more than my own life. I never thought I'd be the type of person to set a trap. But something deep inside me knew I had to protect my daughter, even if she couldn't see what was happening to her. After our neighbor left that terrible evening, my daughter retreated to her room early, claiming she had a headache. The humiliation from dinner still hung in the air like smoke, but he stayed behind, offering to help clean up the dishes. I should have known better. I should have sent him home immediately. Instead, I found myself alone in the kitchen with him, stacking plates while he dried glasses with one of my good towels. The silence felt heavy until he moved closer. Too close, his hand found my arm, fingers lingering longer than they should have. "You know," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear, "I've always been attracted to mature women. Your daughter, she's too needy, too emotional, but you understand how to treat a man." My stomach turned. Every instinct screamed at me to push him away, to tell him to leave immediately. But something else, something stronger, told me to keep listening, to let him reveal himself completely. I stepped back slightly, pretending to consider his words while my trembling fingers found my phone on the counter. With movements that felt guided by something beyond myself, I pressed record and slipped it behind the sugar canister where he couldn't see. "What about my daughter?" I asked quietly, my voice steadier than I felt. His laugh was cold, calculating. "She's been so easy to manage. A few well-placed criticisms here and there, making her doubt herself. It's amazing how quickly someone can be broken down when you know exactly where to press. For 20 minutes, he detailed his plan with the casual cruelty of someone discussing the weather. How he'd been researching our family's finances, waiting for the right moment to propose so he could access her trust fund. How he'd been systematically destroying her confidence, isolating her from friends who might warn her away. The inheritance from her grandmother. That's the real prize, he continued, leaning against my counter as if he owned it. Once we're married, I'll have access to everything. And honestly, dealing with her emotional neediness is exhausting. But you, his eyes traveled over me in a way that made my skin crawl. You could make this whole arrangement much more pleasant. I felt bile rise in my throat as he described his vision of our future, him married to my daughter for her money while pursuing me on the side. He spoke about my child like she was nothing more than a bank account with inconvenient feelings attached. She'll never suspect, he said confidently. She's too desperate for love, too afraid of being alone. I could probably tell her I was cheating and she'd blame herself. That's when something inside me snapped, or maybe something divine took over. Because suddenly, I wasn't the same woman who'd been doubting herself for months, wondering if I was overreacting to his treatment of my daughter. You're absolutely right, I heard myself say, my voice calm and measured. She would blame herself. She's been doing that for months now, hasn't she? Every time you criticize her cooking, her appearance, her job, she thinks it's her fault. His smile widened. Exactly, you understand, I knew you would. I understand perfectly, I continued, moving to face him directly. I understand that you're a predator who's been psychologically abusing my daughter. I understand that you see women as objects to be used and discarded. And I understand that you're about to discover just how wrong you are about both of us. The color drained from his face as I reached for my phone, stopping the recording with a satisfied tap. What are you doing? He stammered. 23 minutes and 47 seconds, I said, checking the file. Every word, every disgusting detail of your plan. Your admission about manipulating her, your proposition to me, your confession about the inheritance money. He lunged for my phone, but I was ready. I'd already backed toward the kitchen island, keeping distance between us. You can't, she won't believe. She'll believe the recording, I said firmly. And so will her lawyer and her therapist. And probably the police, considering some of what you just admitted constitutes financial fraud. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked genuinely afraid. The mask of charm and manipulation slipped completely, revealing something ugly and desperate underneath. You don't understand what you're doing, he said, his voice taking on a threatening edge. She needs me. Without me, she's nothing. She'll fall apart. No, I said, surprising myself with how strong my voice sounded. Without you, she'll heal. She'll remember who she was before you started tearing her down piece by piece. I walked to the kitchen door and opened it wide. Get out of my house. Don't call her, don't text her, don't come back. If you try to contact my daughter in any way, this recording goes to everyone, her friends, her workplace, social media, the authorities. Everyone will know exactly what kind of person you really are. He stood there for a moment, clearly calculating whether he could intimidate me into deleting the recording. But something in my expression must have told him those days were over. This isn't finished, he said as he walked toward the door. Yes, I replied firmly, it is. After he left, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, holding my phone and thinking about divine intervention. I'm not particularly religious, but I can't explain what gave me the strength and clarity to handle that situation the way I did. Something guided me to record him, something kept me calm while he revealed his true nature. Now, as I prepare to have the hardest conversation of my life with my daughter, I know that whatever happens next, we'll face it together. The recording will speak for itself, but more importantly, she'll finally see that someone believes her worth fighting for. I wonder where my voice is reaching. Tell me your city and country below. I never thought I'd be the mother who had to save her daughter from the man she loved. But that morning, staring at my phone with his vile confession recorded, I knew exactly what I had to do. I waited until I heard them both moving around upstairs. My daughter's footsteps were slow, hesitant. His were confident, almost bouncing. The contrast made my stomach turn. Can you both come downstairs? I called, my voice steadier than I felt. I need to talk to you. My daughter appeared first, still in yesterday's blue dress, now wrinkled and stained with tears. Her eyes were swollen, that hollow look I'd been seeing for months even more pronounced. She moved like someone walking underwater. He came down behind her, freshly showered, wearing that charming smile that had fooled me for so long. Good morning, he said brightly, as if last night never happened. I was hoping we could all start fresh today. The audacity nearly took my breath away. Sit down, both of you, I said, gesturing to the kitchen table where we'd shared so many meals, where he'd slowly poisoned every conversation with his subtle cruelty. My daughter sank into her usual chair, staring at her hands. He sat across from her, reaching over to touch her arm. I watched her flinch away. Look, about last night, he began, that practiced tone of false remorse. I think we all got a little heated. Maybe I was too honest about some concerns, but… Stop, I placed my phone on the table between them. Just stop talking. His eyes flicked to the device, then back to me. Something shifted in his expression, but he kept that smile plastered on. What's this about? Last night, after dinner, you came into the kitchen while I was cleaning up, I said, my finger hovering over the play button. You said some very interesting things. I watched the color start to drain from his face. My daughter looked up for the first time, confusion flickering in her tired eyes. I don't know what you think you heard, but… He started. I didn't just hear it, I said quietly. I recorded it. The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear the kitchen clock ticking, the refrigerator humming, my daughter's sharp intake of breath. Mom, she whispered. I pressed play. His voice filled the room, crystal clear. Confident, cruel, describing my daughter as a stepping stone to the real prize. Detailing exactly how he'd systematically destroyed her self-confidence, isolated her from friends, made her doubt her own worth. How proud he was of breaking down Daddy's little princess, until she was grateful for any scrap of affection. I watched my daughter's face change as she heard him laugh about her promotion dinner, calling it the perfect opportunity to remind her where she stands. Heard him describe her inheritance as the endgame, and me as lonely enough to be flattered by the right kind of attention. The recording played his proposition word for word, his hands on my waist, his breath against my ear as he whispered about showing me what a real man could do, while my daughter slept upstairs, believing he loved her. This is what he said to me, I told my daughter, my voice barely above a whisper, while you were crying yourself to sleep in your childhood bedroom. He was shaking his head frantically. That's not, you're taking it out of context. I was upset, I said things I didn't mean. Which part didn't you mean? I asked, my voice getting stronger. The part where you called her pathetic, the part where you detailed your plan to drain her trust fund, or the part where you tried to seduce her mother in her own kitchen. My daughter was staring at him like she'd never seen him before, the fog of manipulation finally lifting from her eyes. Is this real? She whispered, looking between us. I nodded, every word. She stood up slowly, her chair scraping against the floor. For the first time in months, I saw something besides defeat in her posture, something like fury. You, she started, then stopped, her voice catching. He was on his feet now, reaching for her. Baby, please, let me explain. Your mother is obviously trying to come between us. Don't, the word came out like a whip crack. My daughter stepped back, her spine straightening. Don't you dare touch me. She looked down at her left hand, at the engagement ring that had seemed so beautiful 6 months ago. Now it looked like a shackle. She pulled it off slowly, deliberately, held it up to the light. You know what's funny? She said, her voice growing stronger with each word. I actually started to believe you. Started to think I was lucky someone like you would even look at me. Started to think I was too needy, too emotional, too. Everything you said I was. She threw the ring at him. It bounced off his chest and clattered across the kitchen floor. Get out of our house, she said, and I heard my strong, brilliant daughter in that voice again. Get out now, and don't ever contact me again. You're making a mistake, he said, but the charm was completely gone now. His mask had slipped, revealing something ugly underneath. You'll never find anyone else who will put up with your… out. I stood up, moving to stand beside my daughter. Before I play this recording for everyone we know, before I send it to your work, your family, every mutual friend we have. He looked between us, finally seeing that his game was over. Without another word, he turned and walked out. We heard the front door slam. My daughter collapsed back into her chair, but it wasn't defeat this time. It was relief. Mom, she said, tears streaming down her face, I'm so sorry, I should have seen. No, I said, wrapping my arms around her. I should have seen, I should have protected you sooner. We held each other in our kitchen, surrounded by the wreckage of what we'd thought was love, but feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. I never thought silence could sound so beautiful. 6 months have passed since that night in my kitchen, and the house feels different now. Lighter somehow. The morning sun streams through windows that seem brighter, and I can hear my daughter humming in the backyard, a sound I hadn't realized I'd missed until it returned. She's tending to our garden, the one we planted together 3 weeks after she threw him out. Her hands are dirty with soil, her face peaceful in a way I hadn't seen in over a year. The tomato plants are thriving, just like she is. "Mom, look," she called out yesterday, holding up a perfect red tomato like a trophy. "Remember when we used to do this when I was little?" I remembered. I remembered everything, the laughter, the confidence, the spark in her eyes that he had systematically tried to extinguish. Watching her now, barefoot in the dirt with soil under her fingernails and genuine joy on her face, I know I made the right choice that night. The recording is still on my phone. Sometimes I think about deleting it, but something stops me. Maybe it's a reminder of how close we came to losing everything. Maybe it's proof that trust, once broken, leaves scars that teach us to be more careful. Last week, she thanked me. We were washing dishes together, something we'd started doing again, these small domestic rituals that felt sacred now. Her hands were sudsy, mine drying the plates with the same blue towel from that awful night. "I know it was hard for you," she said quietly, not looking at me. "Recording him like that, keeping it secret, I know you hated doing it." I had hated it. Every second of standing in that kitchen, listening to him proposition me while insulting her, knowing I was betraying her privacy even as I protected her future. It had felt like swallowing glass. "But you saved me, Mom." I was so lost in his version of reality that I couldn't see the truth anymore. He had me convinced that I was the problem, that I was lucky he even wanted me. She finally looked at me then, tears in her eyes but strength in her voice. "You gave me back to myself." I think about that conversation now as I watch her through the kitchen window. She's laughing at something, maybe the way the cat is stalking a butterfly between the pepper plants. Her laugh is full and unreserved, nothing like the careful, measured sounds she used to make when he was around. The engagement ring sits in my jewelry box upstairs, tucked behind my own wedding ring and a pair of earrings I never wear. She asked me to keep it, said she couldn't bear to look at it but didn't want to throw it away either. I understand, some things need time before we can let them go completely. My neighbor stopped by last week. He brought fresh bread from the bakery downtown, the way he's been doing since his wife passed. We sat on the porch, watching my daughter work in the garden, and he shook his head. "I always knew something was off about him," he said, breaking the comfortable silence. The way he looked at people, like he was calculating something. "But she seemed happy." "She thought she was," I replied. "That's what made it so dangerous." He nodded, understanding without needing explanation. Some people are skilled at making poison taste like honey. I've learned things about myself these past months. I've learned that sometimes protecting someone means being willing to be the villain in their story, at least temporarily. I've learned that love isn't always gentle. Sometimes it requires sharp edges and difficult truths. I've learned that a mother's intuition is worth trusting, even when everyone else thinks you're overreacting. Most importantly, I've learned that healing isn't a destination, it's a daily choice. My daughter makes that choice every morning when she gets up and tends to her plants. She makes it when she laughs without looking over her shoulder first. She makes it when she talks about her future with excitement instead of fear. I make it too when I choose to trust that we're both stronger now. When I choose to believe that the hard lessons we learned will protect us from making the same mistakes again. Yesterday, she brought me a handful of cherry tomatoes, warm from the sun and perfectly ripe. We ate them standing in the kitchen, juice running down our chins, and for a moment, we were just a mother and daughter sharing something sweet. "I'm thinking about taking that photography class I mentioned," she said between bites. "The one that meets on Tuesday evenings." 6 months ago, she would have asked his permission first. Now she was simply informing me of her plans, confident in her right to make her own choices. "I think that sounds wonderful," I told her, and I meant it. As I sit here now, writing this confession, I can smell the apple pie cooling on the counter. The same recipe I made that terrible night, but this time it's just for us. No performance, no audience, no hidden agendas. Just the simple pleasure of baking something sweet for people I love. The kitchen clock ticks steadily, marking time that belongs to us now. No more walking on eggshells, no more careful conversations designed to avoid his triggers. We can be loud if we want to be. We can be quiet if we choose. We can be ourselves. I know some people might judge the choices I made that night. They might say I should have talked to her directly, should have trusted her to see the truth on her own. But I lived in this house during those months of his subtle cruelty. I watched my bright, confident daughter slowly dim under his manipulation. I saw her second guess herself, apologize for things that weren't her fault, shrink herself to fit his narrow definition of acceptable. Sometimes love means making hard choices. Sometimes protecting someone means being willing to carry the weight of difficult decisions. And sometimes, when someone you love is drowning in another person's version of reality, you have to throw them a lifeline, even if they can't see the water rising around them. The garden is thriving. My daughter is thriving. We are both exactly where we're meant to be, free, authentic, and unafraid to take up space in our own lives. If this story touched you, subscribe to Silent Confessions for more. Because every mother knows we'll move mountains to protect our children, even from themselves. And sometimes, in the quiet moments after the storm, we discover that we're stronger than we ever imagined possible. Trust should be earned, not given freely, but love endures, love heals. Love finds a way to bloom again, even in soil that's been scorched. The tomatoes are proof of that.